Yo, on a note totally unrelated to the video, if you log out in this bed, you wake up in it. That's cute as hell. I love that. Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So, you guys asked for the alt video. Took a bit more extra researching, some other things I need to figure out, but here it is. We're gonna go over alts. Let's talk about it. We're on the cusp of hitting that 10K subscriber goal that I've had for YouTube for a very, very long time. When I say on the cusp, I mean, last time I checked, I think we literally had 9 more subs to hit it. So I'm gonna preemptively say thank you. They're hitting that 10K goal. I'm sure we've passed it by the time this video goes live. Either way, I appreciate all the support, guys. Sub if you want to keep up with future videos as we continue to cover Crystal of Atlan as well as PSO2, and maybe even in the future, Star Resonance for Blue Protocol. So alts, do you need them? Should you level them? How useful are they for your main character? And everything in between. So to answer this question, we have to understand a couple of different things. The first thing you need to understand primarily was energy, which is why the energy video came out. However, I do need to make a slight, ever so slight correction to that video. Now, in the previous video, I mentioned about energy as far as spending it, how you should spend it, and so on and so forth, but I did get something wrong about Void Realm. So it's come to my attention, even though it is not mentioned in here at all, and they do mention a lot of things in here, or any other location, Nest does have 1 gold piece of gear dropped per run. I mean, you can do 3 runs weekly. I checked as well, trying to do another run. You don't get any extra rewards after the 3. 3 runs weekly will get you a gold piece. Now, for clarity's sake, and we're going to talk about this during the whole alt situation, outside of your main, that is not that important. Now, the other stuff is, don't get me wrong, but it's not massively important. However, it is still worth to go ahead and run this. If you plan on running any energy on a character, go ahead and just replace one of your Abyssal Purgatory runs with your Nest run. Cool? We good? Everyone who got upset about it in the previous video that's like, hey, he's trying to keep gear away from people. No, it's just, I go based on the information that is provided, not just off of hearsay, and I'm not testing it myself. I have had time to test it myself. Those of you guys who called in the comments, I appreciate you guys. I had time to test it on myself on some alts. That does seem to be the case. Also, thanks for the sub. Totally forgot to turn these off. So we already went over energy. You kind of know how energy works, that sort of stuff, account energy, character energy, so on and so forth. But to understand alts, you have to understand the adventure team. Now, the primary reason for leveling your alt characters or leveling alts in general is for your adventure team. Now, you can increase your adventure team by simply using your main character and nothing else. However, you are going to get a big boost of experience to your adventure team by leveling your alts. Why do you want to level your alts? Why do you want to get your adventure team higher? Well, it has to do with these memory crystals, and it's the stats you get from these badges. So let's go over the memory crystals really quick. As you see, there's an experience bar that goes up as you get experience. As you get experience bar goes up, and then bam, you get more of these memory crystals. You can only hold up to 110 of them apparently. I haven't even gotten close. They can be redeemed in this shop. This shop is very useful as it has transfer stones, potent catalysts. The adventure team level 7, you can now pick up an extra character card for an extra character slot. There's life essences, there's advanced life essences, all that good stuff in between, right? All these things are gonna be very, very useful for you, very, very helpful. So you wanna level your adventure team for that reason as one thing, but mostly you care about your badges here. Now these badges provide extra stats. And one of the badges that's very important is the Traveling Thornbird badge. And this badge, as your adventure team levels, gives you flat stats. Is it a lot? No, but it is free stats for your entire account by simply increasing the level of your adventure team. Now, why do you want multiple characters? Because like I said at the very beginning, you could just play one character and you could just increase your adventure team that way. Because when you are level 60, 10% of all experience gained is added as team experience, which increases your adventure team. However, below level 60, 100% of the experience that's gained by that character is converted into team experience, increase your adventure team faster. As you can see, very important, especially at the later levels, right? You're getting more and more experience, meaning you're able to gain more and more adventure team experience overall. So that's important for that. So Shining Like a Star. Shining Like a Star, every character you hit level 60 with gets you extra stats. We're 5 out of 6 because we only have 5 slots. We get that 6th slot, we'll be 6 out of 6, we'll be good to go. Now, one question I see a lot, do I need to level other classes? Should I make duplicates of my same class to funnel gear? All of this, the answer is depends. One of those things it depends on is Jack of all trades. So Jack of all trades, it's another badge here. Own 4 different awakened characters, and it goes up to 5 when I get higher level, and then 6 when I get higher level, right? So basically own different awakened characters, gives you some more physical and magical defense. Now, this is defensive stat, which is, I feel like is still somewhat important. Again, it's not very much stat, it's just some extra stat that's free for your account. But you only get this for leveling different characters, awakened characters. Now, what they mean by this specifically, because this is 3 different characters, however, they are the same class. They mean different classes specifically. So for example, if you look at my adventure team, I have 3 berserkers here, I have a Magi Blade, and I have a Warlock, meaning I have 3 different classes that are awakened. Awakening happens at level 45. This increases for every class that is awakened. Not Ultra Awakened, but just awakened. So as long as you're past 45, you do the Awakening quest, you're good. Now, there are a few things that are of note that I haven't personally tested, but I recommend that you look into. Maybe someone else has tested. This game is also on CN, so maybe they've looked into it in the situation itself. However, take this with a grain of salt. As far as I know, this doesn't go down if you were to delete a character from your account. Now, it does say specifically own different awakened characters. Now, this could go down if you do delete a character. So like, let's say, for example, if I were to delete my Magi Blade, it's possible that that amount could go down back to 2, meaning I would lose out on that. I don't know that that's the case. I planned on deleting my Magi Blade to test this out, but I honestly decided to keep him because I wanted to level him. But it is worth mentioning that I do not know personally if your adventure team does affect this. But it is some defensive stat, and realistically speaking, if you really don't care about the little extra defensive stat, it's not the end of the world by having, 6 Zerkers, and you would, honestly, you would cover everything else perfectly fine. Thoroughly Polished. Thoroughly Polished is just using energy. Just consume account energy, and bam, you will increase Thoroughly Polished. Now, it's also worth mentioning, this says consume account energy. Daily energy counts towards your account energy, so I'm not sure if they mean consume your character energy also. I assume that it does mean this specifically, but there isn't like a little thing that I can see, like write the amounts that I've actually used to test it exactly, and it would be a little too difficult to say so. The only way you'd know this for certain is if you're someone who only plays one character and you never play any of your other characters and you just use all of your account energy on those other characters, then yeah, that probably goes towards it. My assumption is that it will, but again, take that with a grain of salt. This just gives you an extra base HP, which to be honest, in my opinion, is important for someone who's playing Zerker, so I will be, trying to push this up as high as it can. So when it comes down to, do you need extra characters? Should you level extra characters? This is my rule of thumb. If your enjoyment of the game is going to be threatened by the fact that you have to level a bunch of different characters, don't. It's not worth it. If you're fine with playing multiple characters, as long as you're playing the character you like, I would highly recommend just making an entire roster of the characters that you actually like, or maybe even holding off on making multiples. You lose on a little bit of stat, but realistically speaking, the more important part is if you're not going to enjoy yourself while playing, you're not going to want to use that character in the first place. That's why I made 3 Zerkers, because I knew that I was going to have to do some alt stuff, and I wanted to do some alt stuff to funnel into my main. Granted, how we do those things is going to change, and we're going to talk about that. But I knew personally, if I wasn't playing a class I didn't like, then I wasn't going to actually go through and do those things. So it is up to the individual. However, from an optimization perspective, the best thing for you to do is to make different characters themselves. You want to have 6 different characters overall, if that level of optimization matters to you. However, that ends at leveling them. We haven't talked about how the energy is used, and we're going to talk about that here in this video. So it only ends at leveling them up. I would say get them to 60, and then you're perfectly fine. If you don't want to use them anymore, it's not the end of the world. What do I recommend as far as actually using your alts? So this is something that is a bit of a point of contention. Some people have different opinions behind this on whether you should do this versus you shouldn't, and why you should do this. I'm going to explain exactly what benefits exist. You will have to decide whether or not you want to go through these things, because it's not as cut and dry as one might think. On your account, you have your character's energy and you have your account energy. The account energy is essentially shared with your character energy. Now, I have 5 characters, right? 140 times 5 does not equal 840, equals 700. Technically, this amount is if I had 6 characters across the entire account, which that might be what this is supposed to be basically, is 6 characters across the entire account. I don't know if this is going to increase if I had more characters or not. Who knows? Maybe it does when you go past it. Not 100% sure. I'd have to check CN to know for certain, but maybe just the numbers correlate to one another and it has nothing to do with the amount of energy that you actually have. But I thought it was kind of funny if like 140 times 6 does work out in this way. So what is it that matters? What should you be doing with your energy itself? Now, on your main character, this is something that I will say always, 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 always do. Is number 1, most energy is going to go to Abyssal Purgatory outside of saving 20 energy to run Nullification 3000 Nest. Just running Nest, nothing else. Run it once with your green energy as long as you have the actual weekly rewards. 3 times a week, you're running Nest, and then the rest is into Abyssal Purgatory. Outside of that, when you're looking at your alts, technically, they don't have to do the same thing. Depending upon how you use your alts, some people, they have to have, they like to have variety. You have to have different characters you play and enjoy. Yeah, you have your one that's your main, but you like enjoying other characters as well. And maybe you like that separation, but not everyone's like that. Some people like their main character and they only want to play their main character. If you were to sit here and simply burn all of your account energy on your main character, just farming out all of your energy, that's actually perfectly reasonable to a degree. There is one thing I recommend outside of that, and that has to do again with Void Realm. Even if you don't use your alts to farm through all their energy, I would at the very least recommend void gear them out and then using a bit of their time and energy to run Ravine to an extent, of course. I would say Ravine as well as Valley. Reason for it is Valley is going to allow you to get this resource here, Ultra Engravings, to upgrade your Void Gear to the Epic Void Gear. And Ravine, you can sell these Hyper Engravings. Now, the reason why I say it's fine to run this and to sell them is because if you look at the actual stage reward amount of gold that you're getting from this, it's nothing more than what you would normally get for everything else you're doing. Now, if you plan on gearing up your alts, I know some people are like, oh, but what about, running something like Abyssal Purgatory? Well, it's worth mentioning Abyssal Purgatory costs hunting permits. Meaning it's not free to get into Abyssal Purgatory with just your energy. It's going to cost you something. You need to make sure that you're looking at the extra costs, right? Abyssal Purgatory going in, each one will get you, of course, 30k gold as well as 520,000 experience, but it isn't free. You are also using your hunting permits, and hunting permits do have a value. It's important to realize that that's going to cost you. Hunting permits usually go for about 4k a piece. People are using a ton of hunting permits and running out of hunting permits because they're spamming a lot of those runs even on their alts, and they're burning through all of their hunting permits. This is a bit of a gold mine. This is what you're going to use to make a lot of extra money because we're sold out of licenses and permits. But realistically speaking, if you only care about your one character, you don't need to worry about burning those licenses and permits. And yeah, you could argue that, oh, on my alt, I could, let's say, for example, run something like Abyssal Purgatory. I have a chance, or eventually I will, get a yellow piece of gear. The gearing process on your alts really only matters depending upon what you plan to do with those alts. Now, I did a little bit of math to kind of figure this out. If you were to gear your alts in a way that you were only ever using the Void Gear, going into the Void Phantom Gear, eventually you could hit 5k of nullification by upgrading just Void Gear. The reason why that would matter is because the only reason, realistically, why your extra nullification would matter on an alt, in my opinion, would be for Hex Chest. Hex Chest does have separate rewards across characters. Now, why would you want to go into Hex Chest on your alt? Well, it's because running Hex Chest, even on your alts, you have a chance at these golden insignias, and these things are insanely expensive. So if you can get your alt geared up to the point where you're running these, you have an extra chance at these gold insignias and you can sell them, you can make quite a bit of money as well. And the only resource to get into them are the strategist codes. And these are about 4k a piece. Not super expensive. It is going to cost you a bit, right? Because it's 2 strategist codes per boss, meaning it's going to cost you about 8k gold per boss, which is not the end of the world, right? But it is going to allow you to get those extra chance at getting those pieces of gear. And that's kind of what most of this is going to revolve around. What you're going to find is when it comes down to alts are kind of to help fund your main. However, your main can kind of fund himself. You can use your alts to get a little bit extra out of it if you want to put a little extra effort into it, but you can realistically just use your main to do most of these things. Things like spamming your Abyssal Purgatory runs over and over and over again. And then when you run out of your regular daily energy on your main, you can do things like, let's pull it up really quick here. Things like Critical Conquest. Critical Conquest is great for alts because all this costs is energy. And after you've run them multiple times, so after you spam this multiple times, these are going to give you not only hunter's licenses, but hunter's permits, meaning you can count that towards the gold that you're actually making. Yeah, this is a little bit lower, right? Not making as much, but you have the hunter's license and permits. And if you happen to have bound hunter's licenses, you can use those bound hunting licenses to farm this boss instead and get your shards, as well as a chance at this gold insignia. So you don't get any hunter's licenses, but you do still get some hunter's permits, and it does cost a little bit less energy. So in my opinion, this is actually worth doing if you have bound hunter's licenses. Now, the way the math works out, it depends because it's a little bit more RNG. Sometimes you might get more licenses, more permits, so on and so forth. I've had one run where I got like 8 hunter's permits. You look at this from the perspective of how much you're going to get off of this energy itself, then yeah, you could just do this on your main. However, you're still missing out on some rewards. You got to keep in mind that alts have different daily and weekly rewards that they're able to get. At the very minimum, I usually recommend 2 alts. The reason I recommend 2 alts primarily is because of Golden Fleece. Golden Fleece has 3 daily account rewards, meaning I can run this on my main, I can run this on 2 alts, and it will satisfy the daily reward for the character as well as the daily account reward. And in things like this, where you have Gold Rush, you really want to have alts to run. So at the very least, have 1 main and 2 alts you at least like running on. How much you invest into those alts is realistically up to you. Like, yes, a lot of what you do can get you gold gear and you're able to get gold gear, but transferring gold gear over to your main is not a simple thing to do. To transfer gold gear from a character, let's say, for example, I wanted to transfer these bracers over. I go to storage and go to account storage and go to transfer them in. You need an advanced transfer stone. To get advanced transfer stones, you need 10 regular transfer stones. To get regular transfer stones, there's only 2 places that you guarantee well, I guess 3 places you guarantee get transfer stones. The first place is over here at the Merchants Guild. The Merchants Guild will give you up to 10 of these per month guaranteed. Now, this is across your entire account. All you got to do is use your likes, make sure you do your donations, which I haven't done today. We're just going to go ahead and take care of that now. And then you can use the currency, the finny that we get, to purchase transfer stones. You can get 10 of these guaranteed a month here. Outside of that location, the only other places you can get them guaranteed are going to be, I believe it's 2 different shops. So one of them is the fleet shop at level 7. You can purchase 2 more. The other one is the adventure team, which you can purchase 2 more off of there. This one's a little bit easier to hit, and you're probably going to get this one pretty easily. Unless you have someone who really understands the whole fleet process, which I personally don't. So I wasn't optimally leveling mine. I'm not optimally doing everything I can be doing for my fleet. I apologize for those of you guys who are in my fleet. Like outside of that, as you can see, there's no other place. Battle points, this is PvP. You can't just straight up buy this. Without any RNG involved, you will get 14 of these a month. Now, you also have the chance of getting the Wondrous Shop. The Wondrous Shop can also have these inside of them, but that is RNG. That's where alts can also come in to help out. Every alt can get a Wondrous Shop ticket per day, meaning they also have the chance of getting an extra transfer stone. You notice how we've taken all this time to explain transfer stones because the thought process of just funneling the gear over to your main character is not that simple of an idea. At the best case scenario, if you were optimal and you were super, super lucky, yes, you could have enough transfer stones to transfer your gear around as you need to, but you have to keep in mind, it is RNG. You aren't guaranteed to get these. It's 14 of them you're guaranteed a month, meaning you have 1 stone you can make guaranteed a month. And then every extra stone you get is RNG. Now you're probably asking, but can I just get one of the advanced stones? Oh, you absolutely can if you have the money. In the cumulative top-up reward at 15,000 points, about 150 US dollars, I believe. Don't quote me on that. There's an advanced transfer stone. In the point shop, there are 3 of them for 8,000 a piece. So about 80 USD a piece. So yeah, if you have the currency, you have the capital to spend, then absolutely you can get extras. However, we ain't whaling that hard. So for most people, that's not going to be an option. So when it comes down to gold gear on alts, yes, it is helpful to get some gold gear on alts. And I am someone who has a lot of gold gear on his alts. As you can see, waiting to be transferred over to my main. Across 4 characters, I have almost the entire set for Berserker right now. Looking to transfer all this stuff over, it's not an easy thing that's going to happen for you. So just keep that in mind. And the reason why I recommend honestly just building up your void gear is because yeah, eventually you'll end up with enough to get into something like Hex Chest by just upgrading the void gear and taking the extra gear you get on your alt. Maybe you happen to get lucky, right? Let's say you get, you happen to luck out and you get some gold gear and you don't plan to use it on your alt. You can dismantle it for epic class shards, advanced spare parts that can be sold, and Abyss Delirium that can also be sold or used on Abyssal Purgatory to try to get the piece of gear you're after. So doing this and running this stuff on alts and getting the stuff on alts isn't actually a waste. So you can, in theory, invest a bit more of your daily energy into that. Let's say, for example, you want to, get the best chances you have at getting the piece of gear you want, and you do not care to spend extra money. Let's say maybe you're whaling. Well, then yeah, for you, it might be worth going in and doing things like you do on your main, burning all of your stuff on Abyssal Purgatory, because then you can get a piece of gold gear that you could then technically break down and give over to another character. You're like, oh, but what, you could just buy the item that you're talking about. Well, no, you can't. Abyss Deliriums are usually sold out. And while yes, technically speaking, you can buy them from the Void Shop for like 80K, it's going to cost you more gold. So it's up to you how it really works out. I mean, honestly, I don't think it's really worth even going that route, but that is an option that is available to you if you want to go that route about this. So I've said a lot of things. What would I recommend doing on alts? What should you use your alts for? How should you use your alts? Well, in my opinion, the most efficient way to utilize your alts, like I mentioned beforehand, get your 1 main and find 2 alts you like to play. Now, for the main, you of course do your usual. You burn your daily energy, you make sure you get your nest in, that way you have your guaranteed gold piece. And then over on your alts, you still do something fairly similar. You make sure you run your ravine. I honestly think this is worth the 20 energy to burn this, not on your daily energy. I would wait until you're at orange energy, use some of your overflow to go ahead and run the ravine, just because you already get hyper engravings. That's actually still worth it. You still get a good chunk of experience. You still get a chunk of stage rewards. So that's the stage reward, gold is still perfectly fine. And you of course make your void gear if you need to make the void gear itself, or just sell the hyper engravings. If you sell the hyper engravings, I mean, it's 48 of them that you get. They're selling for 500 gold right now as it is. So As long as they sell, you're still making an extra 24k gold, assuming that they do sell. If they don't sell, if they stop selling, if they become almost worthless, don't bother, just skip over it. Run Valley. Valley is going to allow you to upgrade your void gear. You want to upgrade your void gear to get the nullification even on your alts, get it taken care of. If you do run this, you can run this with account rewards to get what you need. Just go ahead and run it with account reward instead of running it with your main green energy. That's totally fine, not the end of the world. You can run with green energy, but you don't have to. Realistically speaking, the green energy, at the end of the day, where the green energy is used the most, it's most important, is going to be Nest and is going to be Abyssal Purgatory. Everything else realistically has similar drops or similar chances at utilizing that energy for your mains or your alts. So when you're looking at like, how should I use my alts? Like what energy should I be using and what order should I do things in? Just keep in mind, those are the two things that matter the most with your green energy, just because green energy is what's going to increase this. And then of course, green energy on Void Realm is the only way that you get your guaranteed gold piece here. Outside of that, all this other stuff, like you still get it for account energy. So it's not really the end of the world. And the things that you would use your account energy on also give you these things as well. So again, not the end of the world. So just keep that in mind when you're running with your main and alts. So for my alts, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'll run Valley, but probably on my account energy. I'll run Nest 3 times a week with my ult as long as they have 3k nullification. And then I guess you can continue to do that same thing over and over again until eventually you can get into Hex Chest. And Hex Chest will allow you to have a better chance at getting insignias. What you're going to find is everything is going to boil down to where's your best chance to get insignias, because insignias are where most of your money is going to come from. You're going to make most of your money off insignias. Even things like Critical Conquest, where you're getting these pink insignias, or you're going for the gold insignias. This is your best bet at making money. It's going to be insignias. You take them, you sell the insignias, or maybe you need to use them. Maybe you want to get the best in slot gear for your character. Then you're saving yourself some money there. And that's it. Whatever you can do to push yourself into getting more insignias, that's what you're going to go for. However, like I mentioned beforehand, you don't need your alts to do that. You can simply just have your main character and then have 5 level 60 characters you never use. Just use all your account energy on giving your best chance at getting as many insignias as you possibly can. That is going to be your overall goal. I recommend you use 2 extra characters to do that. At least you have all of the rewards you can get for the week. But that's basically it. Now you guys see why I separated these 2 videos, because when you're focusing on one versus the next, it can get pretty wordy. And as always, I am the king of yap. Hopefully this covered every aspect of everything you can do with alts, how important they actually are. Should you put all of your time into alts, or should you just focus on your main? At the end of the day, focus on what makes you have the most fun with the game. If hyper optimizing all of your alts is going to make you not enjoy yourself and not enjoy the game, then don't do it. I would much rather have someone who just plays their main and uses all of their account energy primarily on their main that's enjoying themselves than someone who uses their alts and gets burned out and does like half of the stuff on their alts and then like doesn't actually use all of their energy they could be using. It's really not the best way to go about this process. Either way, super long video, apologies. Hopefully it helps out. If there's anything I missed, as always, feel free to let me know in the comments below. I've been reading through all of the comments. If I happen to miss something important and you're thinking to yourself, oh, hey, he didn't say this thing, check the comments. If you don't see a comment pinned, if you don't see a comment hearted that's brought up to the top, then make the comment yourself. Likely you will be that pinned comment, or you will be that hearted comment that gets rolled up to the top. That way everyone knows exactly what's going on. I do not personally withhold any information from you guys on purpose. I am giving you everything I possibly can based on everything that I have personally learned, what I've learned from streams, what I have read about, what I have seen, what I've translated from CN, and so on and so forth. So hopefully it helps. Either way, thanks for watching all the way to the end. Like if you enjoyed, sub if you want to keep up with more. Thank you to the channel members. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate every single one of you. Even the new ones. The new ones as well. I've seen the new ones popping up. You guys are awesome. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, my friends. Peace out.